Hello everyone, welcome to Preface Nomad Jr. I'm Mr. Mark, and this is a scratch tutorial on how to create your own Pokemon GIFs. So what we have here is a project that is basically in a loop, and it contains 3 different sprites. Each sprite is of a Pokemon, and it's a demonstration of each power. So for example, Pikachu here will start off by jumping up and then giving an electricity shock. Squirtle here will blast water, and we have Eevee, which evolves. So there's a use of different costumes here, but you also see that Eevee has a special effect going over here, which we'll explore later in the project. So before we begin, let's make sure that we've logged into our account. So I'm in my Teacher Mark account right now. For anyone that doesn't have an account, make sure that you skip to the very end of the video. There will be a video link for you right there that will bring you to another video of ours that will show you how to create your own account. Now, back to our project. So if we look back in the original project over here, we will see we have these Pokemon sprites, right? There's an issue that I think that all of you guys are thinking of right now. You guys are probably thinking, Mr. Mark, where did you get these Pokemon sprites from? I mean, if we create a new project, right, and we look for it, it is probably not there. Like when we choose a sprite, as mentioned, we have no Pikachus, or we have no Squirtles, right? We have a Squirrel though. So what can we do? Well, actually, today I'm going to be teaching you a new way of designing, and that is doing something called remixing. Alright, so I want you guys to follow me for these few steps. So we're going to go back to the Scratch homepage first, and then we're going to look for this toolbar over here. I want you guys to type something in. We're going to type in Pokemon GIF SV. There we go. Once we're done, we press enter, and then you should see one project appear here, which is the Pokemon GIF SV right here. Make sure the name is completely accurate, Pokemon GIF SV. It should be created by Mark_Preface. We're going to press right in there. So what you see here is that you see a project, and you also see the green button here that is called Remix. Now what you can do is that you can press on this, and what happens next actually is that you see there's a new name for this project. It becomes Pokemon GIF SV Remix. So what actually happened to it is that if we look into our My Stuff folder over here, you can see that this project has been directly added into your own projects. So this is actually a pretty awesome function, because apart from sharing your projects with your friends, you guys can also make edits to one another's projects. And in this way, you guys can create and make a project all together as a group, right? So today, let's just look into our own version. So what we have here when we remix the project is we actually have a project which has all its backgrounds complete, but actually the sprites don't work. So if we look inside, we'll find out that there's actually no codes in any of the sprites. So remember, the first thing to do whenever you get a project is that you always have to rename it, right? You can rename it to Pokemon GIF, and then probably your name too, right? So let's just say Mr. Mark. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so one thing here is that with the share button here over here, you can actually make your project completely viewable by anybody who uses Scratch. They just have to type in your name, like how we search for this project just now, and then they can remix it accordingly too. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to look into each costume to see what Pokemon is about, right? So we have Pikachu first, and we can see within his costumes he is either just sitting down doing nothing whatsoever, or he's activating his power, right? We have Squirtle, who's basically doing practically the same thing. And finally, we have the Eevee, which, if you guys know Eevee, it has a very good evolution power and can turn to different Pokemons, right? So right now we have Flareon, we have Vaporeon, and we have Jolteon, right? So here's what we do. We need to code for each of them to make it come to life, right? So they're not just static characters. Let's just look at the original project first. So what we have here are the free Pokemons, right? And this time what you see that's different is that we don't really start by clicking them. What we do is that we click the green flag. They're directly into their motions, into their actions, right? This is because we're using something here called events. So we touched on this last time in Into the Jungle, if you remember. We used something called when this sprite clicked, right? Now today we're going to be using something here. For each of them we're going to be using the when green flag clicked. So just a little explanation into what events are. So their whole concept is rather abstract, but what you can imagine them as is you can imagine them as little triggers. They actually trigger a block to happen. For example, I'm just going to make an example here. So when the green flag is clicked, let's just say I want to move the Pokemon to a random position. So here Eevee would move to a random position, right? Oh, by the way, don't follow me on these steps. I'm just providing an example here. But then when this sprite is clicked, I want it to glide somewhere, let's say. So I'd rather glide 2 seconds to a random position. Now, what these sprites do is that they control when the blocks below them are run. For example, when I press the green flag, I will see that Eevee will instantly pop to a random position. Because here, when I click the green flag, my code say go to random position, right? Right there, it's hidden behind Pikachu right now. Let's just move Pikachu so we can see Eevee again. Now, let's go back to Eevee. And then let's see what happens when we click it. So when we click it, once again, hides behind Pikachu, funny. But what you can see is that these codes are handled according to what the event is. So that's why these blocks here are called events. And these blocks, actually we give them a name called event handlers because they literally handle when which code does what. Alright, so I'm just going to delete these codes first. They're not needed for now. And actually, I'm also going to drag Eevee back first. Alright, and now everyone's back in the middle, all is good. Let's get into the Pikachu first. Now let's see what Pikachu does in the GIF. So let's just click the green flag to begin with, and then we'll see Pikachu basically pop into a position above itself, and then it will also activate his power and also scream out his motto, which is basically Pika Pika, right? So here's what we do. Let's go back, let's just stop it up first. And let's just take a look into Pikachu's costume. So remember, we have one here that's of his original costume just sitting down not doing much, and the second one of him activating his power, and also you can see that it pops slightly upwards, right? So let's just bring it back down and bring it back to the original costume. Okay, so here's what we do first. Remember, this time we want it to be activated when the green flag is clicked because we want to be continuously running and not when we click it. So what we do is that we get the when green flag clicked, and since we want to make it happen forever, I'm going to go into control and I'm going to add this forever block inside. Next, I'm going to change the costume first because when it's clicked, I want it to change the costume. So I want to change to the costume that is of Pikachu activating his power. So that would be Pikachu 2, which I correctly dragged over here. And also want to make it go to a higher location over here. So what I do is that I remember this location first. This says go to 4 minus 57, right? I'm just going to drag this block out first. I'm not going to put it in yet. What I'm going to do, I am going to now drag the Pikachu to a position where it's a bit higher up. And then you will see that actually what happens is that the new coordinate is directly updated over here. So I'm just going to drag this new coordinate in. And remember, this is my original coordinates, right? I need this later, so I will need to keep it here. So right now, the Pikachu jumps up, switches costumes. I'm just going to change those two around. And then I am going to make it wait 1 second first so I can see the change actually happening. Now, do you guys remember that Pikachu also said something? So, what did he say? It was Pika Pika, right? So we're actually going to look into these blocks in the looks block. And funny enough, the looks block actually has the say part here. And the reason why it's not in sounds is because we're actually just making it say hello over here, but it's not really creating a sound, right? Rather, it has like a little comic bubble here that shows. Obviously, we change this to Pika Pika. Maybe for 2 seconds, even 1 if you like. And then here's the part where we bring it back down. So there's where we need our original block. Let's put it back in, and then let's switch the costume back to the original costume, which is Pikachu, just like that. Now let's just see it run for now first. So it pops back down, but you guys realize, whoa, it pops down really quickly and it comes back up, right? And the reason why is that right here it switches costume to Pikachu, and in the forever block it will keep looping it, so it goes straight back up. That's exactly why it happens so quickly. So in order to prevent it from not showing this whole full animation process, I'm going to add another wait. I'm going to make it wait 2 seconds. By doing this, I ensure that my Pikachu will wait a bit first before popping up and then screaming his trademark motto right here. Now let's take a little look at Squirtle this time. So let's go back to original project, and then let's click green flag. So Squirtle, if you can compare with Pikachu, it's a bit different, because what happens is that Squirtle, instead of popping up to another location, it glides up, as you can see. And the second part is that it maintains the same costume all the way until it comes down. So we're going to make that happen again from the code. So let's just pause this for now. Alright, and let's see how we can do this. So let's pop into Squirtle first. And once again, Squirtle will need the green flag because it reacts when the green flag gets clicked. And also it keeps on running on a constant basis, right? So we need to get a forever block. Whoops. There we go. Now remember, Squirtle, first of all, it actually changes the costumes first before gliding up and down. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing like I did with Pikachu first. I'm going to get a glide first, but I'm going to make it glide back to its original position first. So as you can see, right here I have -152 and -77, right? Whenever I leave this part, I will need to come back to this location here. So I'm going to just grab this glide 1 second over here first. But I'm not going to put it in yet. Next, I'm going to go to the looks block first. Because if you remember, Squirtle actually changes its costume as it's going up, right? So actually, the costume has changed before Squirtle glides up. So we need to switch its costume first. And then we'll make it glide up. So gliding up, you can obviously just pick any location you want. So let's just say here, and then you can call it to glide up to this position here. Now sometimes you'll realize if you want it to glide up in a straight line, what you can do is that you can look back in your coordinates. So in order to make glide in a straight line, make sure that your two x's are the same. So I can put here, I can make it -152 again in order to make sure that it glides up and down a straight line. And then now I put my glide 1 second block back down. And then remember, I have to switch the costume back to Squirtle, and also to ensure that I have the full animation here. In order to not make it instantly pop back to costume 2 of Squirtle, I need to add the wait 2 second blocks. Alright. So now Squirtle and Pikachu should have the same effects. There we go. So now Pikachu and Squirtle is done. Now I know some of you guys are probably wondering, why did we need to do so much more Pikachu? Why did he need the wait 1 second part 2 to show? And the reason why is actually because with Squirtle we're using a glide 1 second. So we're fully utilizing this so it can show better as an animation in terms of movement. So you can see glide here. And Pikachu, since we don't want to pop it all the way back down instantly, we added a wait 1 second and also made it say something for 1 second. So it's technically paused in the air for 2 seconds right here before coming back down. Now, before I finish the project with Eevee, I actually want to show you guys something. So, do you see all these purple blocks that we've done? So these were all into something called the looks block. So for the people who have actually done the into the jungle part with us before, you remember that we used something called next costume here. So we kept the costume changing. Today we use something called switch costume, which is a bit different, which is we turn the costume to exactly what we want it to be. So here we can specify the costume we want to change it to. We also use this thing here called a say. So seems like sounds, but it's actually within the looks block, because remember it's a comic that actually shows and not really just the sound, so it's in the looks block. And we're also going to use one more look block here. So before I begin with this, I want to mention what look blocks actually are. So as you can see, the motion blocks are in charge of moving the sprites, right? The event blocks are in charge of handling each different code and when they run. Now the looks block actually specify how a character can look. So we can change its appearance, we can change its size, we can change its colors, and then we can make it go to the front layer or go to the back layer if we want to. And also, so within these changing color effects, we can also change specifically what different effects. And this is exactly what we're going to do for Eevee. Alright, so let's just kind of click the green flag and see what Eevee does. So it starts off as its own form, right? So its original form. And then there's a flash of light and then it transforms into a new character. So here it becomes Jolteon, and maybe in the next round it becomes Flareon, like this. Now how exactly do we do that? Let's just stop this and let's go back to our project that we're working on. So Eevee, if you remember, it starts off as the original form. So we go into when green flag click and then we click forever. We need to, forever's in controls, we need to start off by looking at costumes first, and we see that it's called Eevee. The first one's called Eevee, so we're going to go to looks, switch the costume to Eevee to begin with. Now, we want to make sure that it stays as Eevee for a while first, so that we get the wait 1 second block. And here's how we make the flashing effect. What we do here is that we go to looks, we go all the way down, and we go here and then we change brightness instead. So over here, before it was change color, there was this block change color. Let's just drag it out first, and then we're just going to change this to change brightness instead. And we're gonna try change it by 100. Let's see what happens. So when I click the green flag, you wait 1 second and it's now in this flash right here. So in this moment, this is actually the moment where I change it to an other Pokemon. So an other so either Jolteon, Vaporeon, or Flareon. And what I do here is I do this. So I switch a costume. I get the same thing, I get switch costume. But how do I know which costume to switch to? So I don't want to make it just purely Jolteon, right? Let's go back to the costumes and let's look at the costume numbers. So you see Eevee here is costume number 1, Flareon is costume number 2, Vaporeon is 3, and Jolteon is 4, right? So what I can do here actually is that instead of just switching it to just one specific costume, I can actually go right here, literally to my operators block, and I'm going to get this green one here. I'm going to get this block here. It says pick random of 1 to 10. Now the special thing about the costumes is, instead of picking it by a specific costume, I can pick it according to the costume number. Now remember, when the Eevee evolves, it can evolve into these costumes here, right? So they're costume number 2, 3, and 4. So what I can do is I can change this to pick random between 2 and 4. So if we take a sneak peek into this Eevee sprite here, we actually see what's happening. We see that there's an actual change on the Eevee costume, but it doesn't show over here. The reason why, firstly, is because we maintain the brightness to be 100 right now. Remember, before we changed it to 100, and it's still at 100. So what we need to do is that we can set it back to 0 first. So we set the color, not the color, we change it to brightness effect instead. And now it reappears. So you can see it slightly become Vaporeon for a while, but we still don't see it, right? And the reason why, once again, is that we need to add one more wait second block. And here we're just going to make it wait 2 seconds instead, so that it actually shows for a while before it goes back to Eevee. Let's see it now. Alright, so our Eevee right now, it shows completely fine. Let's just full screen right now. Let's save it first actually. And then let's play it a bit on a larger screen, and you can see all of them reacting according to how they're supposed to. So let's do a little recap of what we've learned today. We started off by learning about events blocks, and they trigger codes to start according to specific events. For example, we activate all the Pokemon GIFs with the when green flag clicked events block today. We also learned about the looks block, which can control the appearances of your sprites. With looks blocks, you can change the costume, size, and even make special effects like what we did with Eevee today. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the project. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up with our daily content. I'm Mr. Mark, and this is Scratch Tutorials on Preface Nomad Jr.